everyone, and welcome back to a Cupid Parasite. Today we're doing Shelby Snail. I forgot what that said. Unrestricted something or other. I'll see it when I go back and edit it. Yeah, as far as the recap, if you haven't watched the last episode, you should go watch that because I don't want to recap it. Anyway, let's just say Shelby was less than a satisfactory in the bedroom. Anyway. Sorry, it's been like 13 days since my last Cupid Parasite, but I blame that on Thanksgiving. So, a few days has passed since the incident with a Shelby's soft issue. Morning already. I silenced the alarm on my smartphone and let out a sigh. Since that night, we had started sleeping in separate rooms. Why? Shelby must have thought it would be more humiliating if the same thing happened while sharing a bed. Okay. That's so strange. Emerging into the living room, I noted Shelby's absence. He must have already left for the office. Shelby went to the office again today without me. The trash can contained the usual jelly drink wrappers. That was all he had been eating lately. Okay, here's our first save. I was wondering about the save. I'm like, I haven't seen anything yet. I'm going to save here. And we're going to worry about Shelby's health. I'm worried about Shelby's health. I hadn't seen him eat properly for the past few days and it was concerning. It's so weird he would sleep in a different bed. I don't understand what they mean when they say he was worried about it happening again while sharing the same bed. Well, for it to happen again, there has to be intimacy, right? I mean, you'd be in the same bed anyway. I don't understand. Whatever. I glanced at the clock and noticed there was still time before work began. I could still pack lunch. There's no lunch meeting scheduled today, so perhaps I should prepare something. I didn't want Shelby to collapse from malnutrition. With that thought, I opened the fridge. In the world. Just then I spotted a soft-shelled turtle. What the heck? I fell back in shock. It's still alive? Alive, a soft-shelled turtle in the fridge. What on earth? Only Shelby would do something like that. He must have bought that turtle for some reason. What dishes can you make with soft-shelled turtles? Yeah, I was like, it can't be a pet, right? Like, it would freeze to death in the fridge. Soft-shelled turtle magic. They'll get you energized, keep the summer hot, savor the flavor, and keep it up. The soft-shelled turtle happiness in 1, 2, 3. I checked my smartphone and the first thing that popped up was a dish for male virility. Virility, could it be? The presence of the turtle in the fridge had given me a hunch. I went to Shelby's bedroom and found my suspicions confirmed. Various virility supplements were arranged there. Is that why he wants to he wants to be in a different room so you don't catch on to his medications? He had even arranged the bottles by size. Given Shelby's meticulous nature, that didn't surprise me. The bookshelf held titles like Evidence of Softness and Maintaining Bedroom Relations as a Married Couple. Clearly, Shelby had been searching for a solution ever since we began sleeping separately. A solution of how to get it up again. Oh my goodness. He was desperate to restore his vigor and reunite in the bedroom. Shelby has been so worried about this. Just give it some time. It will resurrect when it needs to. I've been feeling increasingly distant from him since we started sleeping apart. I'd even began questioning whether he even wanted to share a bed with me anymore. But it wasn't a lack of desire on his part. He was simply shocked by his own predicament and wanted to resolve it. Seeing his earnest efforts made me chuckle. Oh, Shelby, we could have discussed this together. His decision to store a live soft-shell turtle in the fridge was definitely surprising, but it was a classic, lovably clumsy move from Shelby. Maybe I should prepare lunch for him. I checked my phone for ingredients that could help. It seemed like oysters, avocados, orca, and ginger could help increase testosterone levels. Well, I didn't have any oysters. I had the rest. I prepared lunch with those ingredients and took it to the office. As usual, Shelby was deeply engrossed in his work. But when I presented him with lunch, he paused. Shelby, I've made lunch. Would you like some?
Bento? Lynetteがか?
You haven't been eating properly lately. I was worried.
Lynette.
Suddenly, Shelby stood up from his desk and embraced me tightly.
すまない。私ばかり不甲斐ない夫で。感謝している。
Oh, don't be silly. What's gotten into you?
いや、お前にばかり甘えているなと思ったんだ。うまく気が回らなくてすまない。ありがとう、リネット。
Shelby leaned down and planted a kiss on my cheek. Suddenly, I heard papers scattering to the floor behind me.
失礼いたしました。
That poor employee.
いや、すまない。そうか、先ほど社内チャットで言っていたな。報告を聞かせてくれ。
Nothing like catching your boss and his secretary in the office. I'll take the lunch downstairs. Excuse me. I rushed out of the president's office, clutching my portion of the lunch, heading for the Cupid Corp Alpha's cafeteria. Less than an hour later, I returned to the president's office. Shelby was out, possibly in a meeting, but his lunchbox was empty. That's good. A note was stuck to it, saying it was delicious, thank you. He's so cute. Days passed with me preparing Shelby's lunches and dinners, but he often came home late. He's so late. I sighed heavily, frustrated with Shelby's frequent late nights. He had been adding extra work on his schedule, making it difficult to predict his return. But from a wife's perspective, not knowing when he could return was worrisome. I know, not to mention he came and prepared dinner. Since we started sleeping in separate rooms, I had no idea when he came home each night. If we had been sharing a room, I would at least stir when he crawled into bed. I rarely see him in the office either. This is not a healthy relationship. At least get back in the same room together. He was frequently out for business meetings, leaving the office empty. Since he didn't share the specifics of his tasks with me, I often had no clue what he was working on despite being his secretary. But he seems to be eating. I opened the fridge to find that all the meals I had prepared were gone. He must have been coming home at least occasionally to eat, even if I never saw him. But we hadn't hugged or kissed in days. We were husband and wife, but we hadn't even held hands in so long. I know, I'd be so lonely and depressed. As for the soft-shelled turtle, it seemed to have disappeared from the fridge before I noticed. Whether he had consumed it or had somehow escaped, I had no way of knowing. At the office late. After Lynette went home, I was doing my work all alone. Truth be told, I wanted to go home and spend time with her. However, the Omar constantly pursuing her, I couldn't afford to slack off at work. That man relentlessly sought to buy out Cupid Corp. I was resolved to not let him take control. I had to work harder to transform Cupid Corp into a formidable, unshakable giant in the industry.
次はあちらに連絡を入れ。ああ、そうだ。あの件の話も進めないとな。
Yeah, but in doing this, you're like destroying your relationship.
それと次は。
Suddenly I received an email notification. I was expecting a response from a client. But instead I was taken aback to see Omar's name on the sender line. As it still, I have something intriguing to show you. Come to the island. Island. I opened the email, which read, as it still has something to show you. Come to the island. I already outright refused his acquisition proposition, but he seemed unfazed.
面白いものか。
Perhaps this was his way of stirring the pot, hoping to coax me into selling. Well, I was up for the challenge. Bring Lynette with you. Actually, he's not going to do that because she would be in proximity of him. Since my early days with Cupid Corp, when I was young and green, there'd be numerous acquisition offers. Each time I'd preserved, steadfastly refusing to surrender.
行くか。
Somehow I have a feeling that she's going to be going with him. I responded, agreeing to the next day, then got back to work. Once I finished my significant portion of my task, I checked the time. It was already 2 a.m. Another day had passed without me being able to share quality time with my beloved wife. I'm gonna have to make some time for that. She'll get mad at you. Also, if you don't want someone to come and enchant her, you're gonna have to spend more time with her. Shelby didn't come back home last night. The next morning, I left for the office from our home on First Avenue. As I continued, I wondered if Shelby had gone to our 8th Avenue residence due to his hectic schedule. I forget which one's the share house and which one's his private home. I arrived at the office expecting to see Shelby there, but he wasn't. I thought his meeting was scheduled for the afternoon. I wondered if he had overslept. It would be unusual for him. I went to check his calendar, which only he and his secretary had access to. It was the tool to keep track of his daily schedule. Okay, let's see. There are 3 meetings, so... Wait. The schedule has suddenly changed to a business trip. I had no idea when the alteration occurred. Shelby was always informed me of any changes to his schedule. With concern mounting, I checked my phone for any messages from Shelby, but there were none. His failure to share his change in schedule stirred some sense of distrust within me. I felt as though he was keeping something from me. As his wife and secretary, I was taken aback. I know, right? Regardless, it was time for work. If Shelby's on a business trip, then I should focus on the tasks at hand. As I began to work, I overheard a disturbing conversation between some employees in the lobby.
でね、その人不倫してたんだって。出張っていうのも全部嘘。仕事に行くふりして女と会ってたのよ。
Where do people come up with this stuff? Like, who in the world would say something like that? People in their gossip chains. Cheating.
最悪じゃない。奥さん気づかなかったの？それがね、その人家ではいい夫だったんだって。仕事も真面目で不倫するような人じゃなかったみたいよ。
Normally I'd brush off such rumors. They were the kind of office gossips everyone engaged in. I know, right? But today, their words hit home. Shelby hadn't come home last night and was suddenly on a business trip today. And I hadn't heard anything about it. I must be overthinking it. He's sure to return after tonight's meeting. If that trip was an excuse to cheat, he'd be gone for a week, but the calendar showed it was only for a day. He was due back for a meeting at Cupid Corp at 6 p.m. Work was his life, or so I thought, but when Shelby failed to appear at our regular 7 p.m. meeting, my anxiety spiked. He was probably kidnapped. This is weird. Something's wrong. No matter how many messages or calls I sent, he didn't respond. This sudden secret trip, could it be a sign of infidelity? No, Shelby would never do that, I'm certain. It was something I had full confidence in trusting. Shelby and I may not have known each other forever, but we'd share significant moments. I'd seen his clumsy side, his serious side, his honesty, and his sincerity. The idea of him betraying me or his work was unthinkable. That was why I couldn't shake the worry. I know, I feel like Omar's did something to him. I feared he might be in some kind of trouble. I even checked the news hoping there were no reports of incidents or accidents involving him. I heard the elevator arrive on my floor. I spun around. Shelby? You there?
あ、すみません。私です。
Why is Owen there? Owen is Omar's assistant now. It was Owen who stepped out. Owen, I'm sorry, what brings you here today?
実は、シェルビー社長と打ち合わせがありまして。
I think you're lying. A meeting. I checked the schedule, but there was no such appointment. I'm sorry, the president is out of the office.
あ、失礼いたしました。日付を間違えたかもしれません。
Yeah, I know. I think you're lying. You came to snoop around. Huh? Mistaken the date, but that didn't seem like Owen. He was always so detail-oriented. Before I could question him further, he handed me some documents.
では、こちらの書類を代わりにご確認いただき、シェルビー社長にお渡しいただけますか？
What are these?
我が社からの提案書となります。私の要件は、こちらの書類をお渡しすることだけですので、これで失礼します。
And with that, Owen went back on the elevator and gone. I didn't even have the chance to give him some coffee. He was there for literally only a minute. A proposal. Owen was working for Omar Holdings. I found it odd, and when I flipped through the documents, I was taken aback. It was an acquisition proposal. What's going on here? Shelby had clearly rejected such an offer from Omar Holdings before, vowing not to sell Cupid Corp. Yet these documents contain detailed future earnings, estimates, and more. Ellie hadn't been around recently, so I thought he'd given up, but this proposal said otherwise. Did Shelby go to discuss it with him and get into trouble? I checked my phone again, still no response. Overwhelmed with worry, I left the president's office and headed to Demore Paradis. Probably the right choice. I knew it was the place where Shelby and I had honeymooned. Upon arriving, I saw Shelby at the entrance. Well, you're in trouble, especially if you're not in trouble. He was standing there as if he was lost. He looked completely burned out, so I ran up to him. Shelby?
Lynette.
He doesn't sound good. Shelby turned around and Ellie was next to him.
ああ、リネット。いいところに来たね。君にも見てもらいたかったんだ。
Probably gonna be blackmailing him.
新しく我が社が始めた結婚相談所。オマールウェディングを。ね。
He turned around and I followed his gaze to a towering building. Huh? The tall building sported an elaborate sign that read Omar Wedding. The building was grand, sparkling in a way that enticed anyone to visit. Its exterior design made it clear that it was a marriage agency. The real surprise, however, was the staff that greeted guests at the entrance. To my disbelief, I recognized them all. They were my former colleagues from the advisory department. You've got to be kidding me. You headhunted Owen and everyone else too?
引き抜き。
So did they get the rumors about cheating through people who left the company? Shelby gave me a blank look. I nodded and pointed at the figures inside the building. Yes, those people, they used to work with me at Cupid Corp.
なんだと。
They were more than just coworkers. We used to hang out at cafes after work, bonding over shared experiences. However, here they were working at this brand new marriage agency. Had I been on the ground, I might have noticed the headhunting, but ever since I became a secretary, my focus shifted to the larger picture, the affairs affecting the company as a whole. That was why I hadn't noticed they were gone.
皆さん、快く我が新事業の手伝いを引き受けてくださいましたよ。おかげでとても助かっております。よくもうちの社員を。何か問題でも？ただより良い待遇を私は約束しただけ。法律を犯したわけでも契約違反をしたわけでもない。人はステージアップを求める生き物です。そして顧客もね。今後このダムールパラディはさらに進化を遂げる予定です。どの年代の人でも楽しめるような複合的なアミューズメント施設、ダムールパラディ。まさに愛の楽園だ。御社が運命的な出会いから結婚までだとしたら、こちらはゆりかごから墓場までといったところかな。
From cradle to grave, that's so cheesy.
De verso tombe.
As Ellie spoke with an air of confidence, he pulled out a document from his breast pocket. It was the same acquisition paperwork I had seen previously at Cupid Corp.
だが7番街という立地は捨てがたい。あちらもぜひ我がオマールホールディングスが手に入れたいと考えているんですよ。
Oh, okay, that's what they meant by the 7th Avenue location. It wasn't Shelby's single apartment. It was the one they got from Alan. I forgot about that since no one's mentioned it. How dare you purchase that too?
前回の倍以上の値段を書いてある。これを見た後でも断れますか？まあいい。返事は待つとしましょう。
Eli smiled with a seductive gaze and lifted my hand and placed a light kiss on the back of it. It was a clear taunt aimed at Shelby. I know, how dare you touch her.
もう夜も遅いし、一晩泊まっていくといい。船の最終便は終わってしまったからね。実は君たちのために最上級のスイートルームを取ってあるんだ。ぜひそこから島の全貌を見るといい。美しいダムールパラディの夜景を見れば、どちらが人のためになるのかわかるだろうからね。
Eli handed the key to the suite to Shelby before departing. We stood in place for a moment, processing all that had transpired. Sliding your finger on my skin. Oh, really? Oh my goodness. What do I have to read next? The suite was gorgeous and comfortable, leaving us momentarily speechless. That is really pretty. The decor was stunning, and we sat together on the sofa. The remaining light of the sunset streamed through the window, and the first stars of the evening began to dot the horizon. It was a quiet night. Despite the beautiful vista, a weighty silence hung between us, a testament to the shocking revelations we had just encountered.
すまない。なんと言えばいいのか。
I don't know. If it was me, I'd probably just give in and just go somewhere else because I would be exhausted dealing with Eli. And with his prestige and, I mean, with their experience, they can form another company. I mean, this guy is not going to back down, right? I would be more willing to let him have that and just go somewhere else and start over. But, I mean, if you've been building this company for like 20 years, then I can see why you don't want to.
すまなかった。すべて私の責任だ。
No, I should be the one to apologize. I failed to notice the headhunting.
いや、お前に責任はない。お前はただ真面目に仕事をこなしてくれていただけだろう。こうなったのはすべて私のせいだ。
He sighed deeply, covering his face with both hands. The weight of responsibility was clearly taking a toll on him.
どうやら私は自分を過信しすぎていたようだ。キューピッドコーポレーションを揺るぎない大企業に発展させるのが一番の方策だと思っていた。そうすればどんな手を使われても負けないと思い込み、会社を成長させることに躍起になりすぎていた。その結果、社内を顧みられていなかったというわけだ。すべて私が焦りすぎたせいだ。結局、私が動いている間に足元をすくわれてしまった。相手の方が何枚も上手だったようだな。
Shelby. I reached out to place a comforting hand on his shoulder. He looked up at me, looking defeated.
すまない。お前のことも私は顧みられていなかったというのに。お前が来てくれなければ私はどうなっていたことか。
His shoulders relaxed as he gave me a weak smile. I extended my hand to touch his cheek. He covered my hand with his own as if to reassure himself of my presence.
リネット、ありがとう。来てくれて。
It's okay, Shelby.
だが、どうしてここに来られたんだ？特にスケジュールの共有はしていなかったはずだが。
Yeah, about that. Why are you keeping it a secret? Owen brought some documents to the office. I thought you might be here because of that.
オーウェンが書類を
Yes, he said he had a meeting with you and brought some documents, but apparently he mistook the date and left.
打ち合わせがある。特にそうした話はなかったはずだが。
Maybe he got her to leave so he can do some more shenanigans with both of them gone. Really?
ああ、オマールホールディングスからの打ち合わせは全て断っていたからな。しかし、オーウェンか。
They're gonna take the rest of your employees while you're gone.
もしかしたら、イーライ・オーマールに言われて、お前をここに向かわせようと手を打ったのかもしれないな。
See, he thinks so too. I see. Owen isn't one to make a mistake with meeting dates.
おそらく、あの婚活会社をお前にも見せるために、オーウェンを向かわせたのだろう。
That's so. If anything, it felt like Owen was trying to tell me something. It was as though he had kept a secret from Eli and was warning me about the danger Shelby was in.
しかし、そうか。オーウェンが来たのか。
The realization that Owen now worked for Eli seemed to deepen Shelby's despondency.
オーウェンが新たな人生を歩み出せているのは喜ばしいことだが、あれほど優秀な人材をもイーライ・オーマールに取られていたとはな。個人的にはオーウェンにはいずれ CC に帰ってきてもらいたいと思っていた。彼を苦しめたのは事実だからな。オーウェンが納得できる時が来たらまた仕事を頼みたいと考えていたが、イーライ・オーマールに先に取られてしまった。不甲斐ないな。私は経営者としても男としても未熟だ。
That's not true, Shelby. You're doing your best. I placed my hand on his shoulder, offering him a comforting smile. I don't know why you would scold him, but let's see what it says to do. Well, apparently you scold him. Let's encourage him first. You single-handedly built Cupid Corp to what it is today. Sure, they're a step ahead, but they're Omar Holdings, a company with a much larger history. You stood up to them as an equal, and the battle isn't over. That's a significant accomplishment. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I know why you would scold him.
リネット、ありがとう。
Would scold him for neglecting his husband duties. His thanks was heartfelt, but he didn't seem entirely convinced. His gaze wandered over the room's decor as if it was reminded of his shortcomings. Right. Now we're going to scold him for a spicy ending. You may be doing well, but you need more confidence, Shelby. Otherwise, you'll just repeat the same mistakes.
リネット。
I choose to use more direct words and stroke his determination. He looked up at me, his expression lightly troubled. Shelby, you built Cupid Corp from the ground up. It stands strong because of you, so what are you afraid of? Omar Holdings is indeed a big company with a rich history, but that doesn't necessarily make them adaptable. But the pace of the world is changing. Companies that only value tradition are doomed. I saw a video on YouTube that echoed the sentiment. Who cares if we have to confront them time and time again? Okay, so she did scold him about the company.
そうだな。お前の言う通りだ。
The words, though reluctant, revealed a new spark of determination. It seemed my stern words had awakened something within him.
とはいえ、相手の力量を見誤ったのは最大のミスだ。二度とこんなミスはしない。
Go get him.
まだ負けを認めるわけにはいかない。これまでロサンヨーク市場を戦い抜いてきたんだ。簡単に手放すわけにはいかない。
There's the confident Shelby look.
やすやすとよそから奪われるつもりはないんだ。ここで諦めてたまるものか。
His voice trailed off. As he turned to look at me, his fighting spirit seemed to falter, replaced by a glimmer of vulnerability.
すまない。少しだけ疲れたようだ。今晩はお前を感じていたい。お前に甘えてもいいか。
It was a rare display of dependence from him, prompting a small smile from me. Absolutely. I nodded and he shifted his weight onto my shoulder. Just like the night he revealed his single status to the world, Shelby leaned on my shoulder at the bar. With his head on my shoulder and my head on his, we comforted each other in a silent embrace, hands interlaced.
すまない。なんとか一人でオマールホールディングスの手を引かせようと思っていたんだがな。
That's why you were so busy recently.
なあ。CC からは手を引かせて、二度とお前にも手を出せないようにするつもりだった。
Well, you failed at that, Mr. Hand.
そのための準備を進めていたところに、急にイーライ・オマールから島に来るようにと連絡をもらってな。だから私は反論材料を集めて向かったんだが、私が用意してきた手札はどれも太刀打ちできなかった。対等な立場になることすらできなかったんだ。
Shelby let out a long sigh and closed his eyes as though the weight of his failure was too much to bear.
すまない。お前を守れる男でいたかったんだが、何一つ成し遂げられなかった。安心してもらえるように、お前に気苦労をかけさせる前に終わらせておきたかったんだが、結局こうしてお前にまで負担をかけてしまった。
He must have been referring to how I sought him out because of the situation. Shelby always wanted to portray himself as flawless, so it was natural for him to feel that way. I reached out to hold his hand, honestly wishing he would let go of his need for perfection. Then let's tackle this together. If we combine our efforts, we might be able to find a solution.
だが、お前にこれ以上負担をかけるわけには。
We're married, Shelby. His gaze shot up at my words as if the reality of our bond had only just hit him.
夫婦。
He murmured more to himself than to me. He seemed to be assuring himself of our connection. I looked directly into his eyes. I want us to be equal, Shelby. If hardship lie ahead, I want us to face them together.
だが、私ばかりお前に苦労をかけているだろう。
Well then stop it. It's not true. From my perspective, you're the one under constant strain. You put on a brave face, hiding all your troubles from me. But it's not a contest of who struggles more. We should be a team cooperating and supporting each other. But please stop suffering in silence. If something happens, talk to me about it.
リネット。
Shelby let out a resigned sigh, his gaze shifting as he embraced me.
いいのか。
Well, yeah. Why else would she say it? Absolutely, we're married, aren't we? I want to share everything, Shelby. Both the joys and the burdens. Don't you want that?
嫌なものか。私もお前の言う通り、お前と分かち合っていきたい。
As his arms encircled me, I could feel them tremble slightly. Shelby tightened his grip as if needing to confirm I was still with him. His cheek against my shoulder felt warm, familiar. For some reason, it brought tears to my eyes. So warm.
暖かいな。
His embrace tightened further at my words, as if craving my presence. At my words. She said it in parentheses, but you say it to herself, whatever. The scent of his cologne mingled with his natural aroma, tickling my senses. The sheer happiness of being in his arms seemed to sweep away the tense atmosphere that had hung over us.
そうだな。確かに私は一人で 気負いすぎたのかもしれない。どうしてもお前には情けないところを見せたくないと思ってしまってな。
Yep, well, that's gonna happen because you're married. Why would showing me that side of you be a bad thing?
そんなところをお前に見せれば愛想をつかされるのではないかと不安だったんだ。
Oh, Shelby, you are worried over nothing.
当然だろう。お前に幻滅されたらさすがに立ち直れないからな。
I can never be disillusioned with you, Shelby.
だが好きな女の前ではかっこつけたい生き物なんだ、男というものは。
His blush face is so cute.
何より結婚は、誰かとこうして暮らすのはお前が初めてなんだ。完璧な SS でなければと今もまだ思う。お前を愛しているからなおさらだ。
His fear of me losing interest in him rang in his voice. I smiled and held him tighter. I love you for who you are, Shelby, with your imperfections.
リネット。
I love your quirks, your dedication, your selfishness. I love every part of you, Shelby, perfect or not. That's why I married you. I could never be disillusioned, so please open up to me. It saddens me when you hide things.
リネット。わかった。これからはきちんと相談する。
He brushed my cheek gently, his touch sending tingles down my spine as our lips met. Wow. Despite kissing every day until recently, this was our first in a while and it felt more intense than usual.
リネット。
He brought his hand up to the nape of my neck, pulling me closer for a deeper, more intimate kiss. I was filled with longing and passion. What followed were kisses upon kisses, each more passionate than the last. It felt as if he was making up for lost time. I gasped when I felt something hard pressing against my thigh. Oh my goodness. Oh. Oh my goodness. It's back. Glancing down, I noticed a stark difference from that night. The desolation I'd seen then was replaced by a vibrant intensity that made me blush, causing me to look away. Shelby? Why are you gonna talk about it? Just make it more awkward.
すっぽんの効果だ。
You think so? So he did eat it. A silent moment of mourning for the turtle passed in my mind, interrupted by Shelby's hand on my arm.
いいか。
His voice was a whisper, the question unfinished. He didn't need to say it because I desired it to. With a nod, I gave him my agreement. Goodness. Dang, that's quite the CG. As our kisses deepened, he gently laid me down on the bed, his fingers pressing into my arm. I'm gonna lick her. I felt the atmosphere around Shelby shift, changing with the heady masculine allure. His lips left mine only to find a new home on my lower lip, teasing and tasting before shifting the angle of the kiss. This was a man filled with passionate yearning, eager to express his desire, a complete departure from the Shelby I knew that weary night. His aggression was a sign of his arousal, a raw need that I had not seen before. He began to undress me with a new urgency. I clung to his arm, a slight tremor of uncertainty running through me. Shelby, wait.
待てない。本当はずっとこうしてお前と触れたかった。
I know, why are you telling him to wait? You can't deny him this. He's not gonna let you.
あの晩からずっと気にしていた。お前が欲しいのにと。だがもう大丈夫だ。 今晩は覚悟してくれ。
Brace yourself, Lynette. His voice was the soft growl in my ear as he planted biting kisses along my neck. My pleas for him to wait were ignored as we intertwined, losing ourselves in each other. From our paradise of love, we discarded the sight of the night, burying ourselves in the bed, craving each other. The extravagance of the room was irrelevant. Being in each other's arms was all that mattered. Closing my eyes, I focused solely on the warmth of his touch. Yeah, why? She didn't even explain in her thoughts why she wanted him to wait. I don't understand why she even said it. I don't know what that said, but it's 45 minutes. Should I read another one? Or is it going to be really long? I don't know. So yeah, Shelby's back to normal. We don't have to hear about all of his supplement medication that he's been taking. Hey, I'm sure it's happened to all guys before, right? I mean, I'm picking up exactly where I left off. If this ends up being short enough, I'll include it in the last video. The next morning, after experiencing firsthand the potent effects of the soft-shelled turtle, oh my goodness. We're out strolling and discussing our next steps.
新しい結婚相談所か。
Our gaze fell upon the new marriage agency that Omar Holdings had recently opened.
ねえねえ見て、結婚相談所だって。しかも今なら相性診断を無料で体験させてくれるって書いてあるわね。どんな相手がおすすめか教えてくれるみたい。ちょっと見てみよっか。
The guests of Domore Paradise entered the establishment with an air of casual curiosity. I noticed some already registered members stepping inside too. It was clear business was booming.
うまくやったものだな。無料体験と称して遊びの一環と捉えられるようにうまく誘導しているのか。
That's how you get people interested. It's true that it would make matchmaking more accessible. Ordinarily, people might hesitate before visiting a marriage agency. One would ask themselves if they're really ready to meet someone. They would then reevaluate their ideal marriage before deciding to join. It was impressive how they encouraged even a group of friends visiting for leisure to consider the idea of matchmaking. Do you think we should pose as customers and go inside?
いや、CC の元スタッフが働いているんだ。私もお前もすぐにバレるだろう。
I know, right?
だが、実際のサービス内容は気になるな。誰かに頼むか。いや、いっそ変装という手も。
I want to see them in a disguise.
エラース
Oh my goodness, she's there. I recognize the distinctive voice behind me. Mom? Yes, it was Venus, the goddess of beauty, who also assumed the role of my mother. Oh! And Shelby's there. You can introduce her. Hey, if he doesn't believe you're a Cupid after this, then you need to slap him around. Dad, you're here too.
キューピッド、元気だったか？
Fine, but what brings you to the human realm?
そんなのあなたたち夫婦を心配してきたに決まってるじゃない。二人がすれ違ってるのを空から見て本当に心配してたんだから。でも仲直りできたみたいで安心したわ。
She calls them misunderstand. Hey, wait, you've been watching us. I told you not to.
あら当然よ、神だもの。深海から覗けば見えちゃうんだもの。全部お見通しよ。
神？深海？
I know, she's been trying to tell you. Shelby stood there looking bewildered, clearly struggling to keep up. Then Mom gave a playful smile.
驚いたかしら。そう、私こそ愛と美の女神、ヴィーナスよ。
Transform. Shelby, I believe you met them at our wedding, but let me introduce you. These are my parents from the days as Cupid. They're actually gods, Mars and Venus.
いや、ご両親というのは分かっているが、神というのは。
Typically, gods stay in Celestia up in the sky. They watch over humans, so they're likely seen our entire lives up until now.
いきなり神が来るだなんてびっくりしたかしら。
まあ私の存在は当然知っていると思うが、軍神マーズはあらゆるモチーフに使われているからな。
愛と美の女神ヴィーナス、軍神マーズ。
驚くのも無理はない。私は人間界でも特に有名で人気な軍神だからな。お前たちのことはよく深海から見ている。お前が仕事に躍起になっていたところもな。最近は随分と娘を寂しがらせていたようじゃないか。
Oh. Uh-oh. That seemed on the verge of physically growing larger, but Mom gently rested her fingers on his arm to stop him.
あらあら、まずったら。怒って大きくなっちゃダメよ。
ここは人間界だったか。つい怒りで我を忘れそうになってしまった。だが一人夫の帰りを待つキューピッドは本当に寂しそうでな。
Oh.
愛する妻を寂しがらせるなど男としてあってはならん。だから
そうよね、まず妻を一人にしてロボット掃除機に浮気なんて絶対にあっちゃダメよね。
She brought up the vacuum.
ロボット掃除機。
Why are you gonna discuss that in front of Shelby? It's a long story. A lot has happened in the past. I quickly attempted to change the subject. I'd been playing dumb with Shelby this entire time, hiding my godhood even after we got married. Shelby didn't know why Owen had suddenly the change of heart, or why our kidnappers fell in love all of a sudden. Shelby, you might find this hard to believe, but gods do have some power to manipulate people.
何?
Oh yeah, Mars was the founder of what? Romeo and Julie or something? You could almost see a big question mark pop up on Shelby's head. I tried to find the words that would make things easy to understand. Have you read about the Greek mythology before? There are stories of gods controlling the weather and changing their forms. And as part of that, the gods often play pranks on humans by exploiting their weaknesses and desires, right?
そういう書籍は確かに大学時代に読んだことがあるが。
Mom and Dad haven't changed since the days of mythology. To tell you the truth, it was Dad who manipulated Owen. And half of the incidents that happened before were Dad's doing. So as a punishment, I used my Cupid's arrow to make Dad fall in love with a robot vacuum cleaner.
なるほど。なるほど。なるほど?
Question mark. Tommy said he understood, but his face told a different story. However, he wasn't outright denying it like before. He might have been confused, but he was trying his best to understand.
人間のあなたには難しいかもしれないけど、これは本当の話よ。この子、本物のキューピッドだったのよ。と言っても、人間に恋しちゃったから、この子はもう人間になっちゃったのだけれど。
そうなんですか？
私たちも寂しいけれど、この子に好きな人ができたのは嬉しいことだもの。
ああ、だからお前は責任をきちんと取るのだ。神を人間にしたのだからな。
Take responsibility.
でもまずはその方がいいんじゃなくて、エロースの矢はとっても効果が強いもの。
確かにまたロボット掃除機に恋をするのは避けたいものだな。
Isn't there going to be another Cupid replacing her though?
でしょ。分かっていても、あの時のマーズのロボット掃除機の鼻の伸ばしっぷりを思い出すと、私今でも引っかきそうになるんだから。
I can just imagine Venus tearing him apart.
ヴィーナス、おお、我が女神よ。あの時は本当にすまなかった。私が愛しているのはお前だけだ。
まずったら。もっと言ってちょうだい。
Call my name again.
我が愛、我が生命、愛と美の女神ヴィーナスよ。お前のために世界中に神殿を建てるとしよう。
You mean manipulate people to build temples for her?
この肉体も命もすべてお前のものだ、ヴィーナス。
まずそのたくましい腕で私を抱きしめて。
Like arms.
もちろんだとも。
Oh my goodness. What the heck? I know, right?
仲睦まじいいいご両親だな。
He's embarrassed to watch them. This is embarrassing.
そうなの。私たちもう何千年も愛し合っている夫婦なのよ。
I mean, I'd probably be embarrassed to watch them too.
おお、そうだとも。
と言ってもマーズが戦に夢中で私をないがしろにした時は100年ぐらい別居したものだけれど。
ヴィーナス、あの時はすまなかった。もうあのように寂しい思いはさせないと必ず約束をする。
そうしてちょうだい、マーズ。
Amid the romantic atmosphere they generated, Mom glanced at Shelby and smiled warmly.
私たちのような夫婦でもこうしてすれ違うこともあるわ。でも愛し合っているなら大丈夫だから安心なさい。私たち先輩夫婦からのちょっとしたアドバイスよ。ね。
はい。
Shelby's hesitant reply made me doubt whether he really comprehended who my parents were or what was being discussed. Despite my strong attempt to convince him I was the formal Cupid, he just assumed it was a tease.
軍神マーズに美の女神ヴィーナス。
He's still repeating that.
すまないリネット。これは冗談を言っているわけではないという認識で合っているか？ジョークではないんだよな。
My parents were openly revealing their divine entities to Shelby, and his continued confusion was all too clear. Hopefully she says it's not a joke. Okay, it's not a joke. Good. Anyway, we're gonna say, oh yeah, we're just joking. What if he denies it again? The trauma of his previous denial lingered, making me hesitate to resort to declaring the opposite. It's just a joke, a prank. Oh, Shelby, please tell me you didn't believe that. My family has a knack for humor.
その反応、ジョークではないんだな。もう頭から否定することはしない。本当のことを教えてくれ。
In my voice cracking was what finally made him understand. I'm sorry, you're right, Shelby, this isn't a joke. As I said before, I'm the former Cupid, and my parents are really gods.
そうか。わかった。
Though he seemed doubtful, he didn't outright deny the claim. Even if he didn't understand completely, I could tell he was trying his best.
それにしても愛の楽園だなんて言うからどんな場所かと思ったけれど、本当に素敵なところね。
Alright, go back up to the top. It is not a joke. Yes, they're telling the truth. They may seem unbelievable, but they truly are divine.
そうか。そうだよな。お前もキューピッドだったと言っていたからな。
Though he seemed doubtful, he didn't outright deny the claim. Even if he didn't understand completely, I could tell he was trying his best.
それにしても愛の楽園だなんて言うからどんな場所かと思ったけれど、 本当に素敵なところね。エロスはあちらに行った？素敵な椅子もあるし、海が見えてとっても素敵だったわ。
The cape at the edge of the island, you mean? It does have a romantic feel and it's a great spot for photos.
撮影スポットかどうかはわからないが、私の神殿があるあたりだ。
You have a temple, Dad. I don't recall there being one in Lost York. I had always believed that the temples of Greek gods would be in Greece. I'd never heard of one in Lost York. Observing my surprised reaction, Dad nodded with pride.
無論だ。このマーズの神殿は世界中に作られているからな。ロサンヨークにも一つはある。海の中だがな。
In the ocean. Who could build it down there?
海の中ですか。
I know, right?
ほら、何千年前だったか覚えてないけど、海の中に沈んじゃったのよ。私の神殿も一緒に立っているのよ。
ああ、海の底だろうと神殿があるのは事実だ。この地が愛の楽園だと有名になれば、私の神殿もそのうち人間どもが発見するだろうな。そうすればさらに信仰する人間も増えるに違いない。なんといってもこの軍神マーズと美の女神ヴィーナスの神殿だからな。
はあ。
Right. The idea of an underwater temple intrigued me. If discovered by a scuba diver, it could be a new tourist attraction. I find it interesting that Mom and Dad's temples are together and reflect their shared escapades in mythology. In mythologies, tales of their shared adventures frequently surfaced. Perhaps that's why their temples were constructed in close proximity. Whether in mythology or reality, I hold a deep respect for their enduring bond as a couple. Perhaps someday Shelby and I could share that kind of bond.
まずったら。あ、見てちょうだい。あそこに可愛い乗り物があるわ。
Mom seemed captivated by the vehicle. We might not share blood, but there was no denying our familial ties.
ラビダビ号？
ねえ、乗ってみましょうよ。私屋台にも行ってルーローハンを食べてみたい
の。お前が望むならばこのマーズ、どこまでも行くと約束しよう、ヴィーナス。
じゃあ行きましょう。エロース、シェルビーさん、仲良くね。
ええ。ぜひまた改めてご挨拶をさせてください。
With their arms linked, my parents walked briskly towards the lovey-dovey. Their cheerful wave suggested they were already enjoying the ride. Shelby, on the other hand, stared after them in stunned silence.
すまない。少し驚いてしまって。だが、結婚式では話せなかったからな。こうして話せてよかった。
My apologies, Shelby. My parents are unique.
いや、勉強になることもあった。
He gave me a wry smile.
あのように仲睦まじい夫婦でもすれ違うことがある。それでも仲直りできると分かってよかった。
My parents' experience as a couple spanned thousands of years, but they weren't so different from us.
それに、お前の両親の年齢でもこの島を楽しめているというのは貴重な意見だ。やはりこの島が優れているのは事実のようだな。ターゲットを狭めていないのはよくできている。
Shelby's gaze surveyed the landscape, his expression firm. It was the face of a business owner, the president of Cupid Corp. He nodded in agreement, initiating a discussion about how to protect our beloved company, Cupid Corp. Is that the whole thing? That's funny. Midnight secret kiss, oh my goodness. Here we go again. Anyway, that's where we are stopping this time. So I went ahead and read ahead to see how long it would be, and it was long enough to include all in one because it's only an hour and 8 recordings. So yeah, I would have been disappointed if I found out next episode that it was only like 15 minutes. It's still funny though. The whole section was just meeting Mars and Venus. The sections are short and sometimes they're extremely long. Anyway, that's it for today. If you guys did enjoy, drop a like down below and or subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.